Hi, hello there, and welcome to a brand new episode of MixStream. This is MixStream number 42 already. Okay, so now quick one. MixStream is a program that I do. Usually, I do this every fortnight, which means every 2 weeks or so, where I mix a song by either a local or a regional artist. It ranges from independent artists, some also are from recording labels as well. But the whole point and the whole purpose of Big Stream is that I want to showcase the mixing process, what happens behind the scenes when it comes to some of our favorite songs and the favorite stuff that we listen to, right? We only hear the final product. We don't know all the amount of work that goes in. Then there is an incredible amount of work that goes behind the creation of our favorite songs, okay? Not only does it have to start with the songwriting, you have to start with the music arranger, writing the words, the lyrics. Then the band will have to get together. We have to rehearse. They have to jam, or sometimes if it's more of a pop production, you need an arranger, you need a producer too, right? Come up with a demo, come up with a music arrangement, program the parts. All of this before they even step in the studio, and then they need to record, spend many, many hours recording. Once recording is done, and then this is where I step into the picture, where mixing comes in the picture, which is right what we're gonna do today. So a little quick background: our featured artist this week is a brand new band named. I hope I get the pronunciation correct. Right? They're called Feir. Right? Well, it sounds like like the word fear, takut, scared, being afraid. But they're spelled Feir instead. Okay, so who are Feir? All right, so they may be a new band, but the band members certainly are not new. Okay, right? They are. I would consider them pretty much veterans of the independent music scene. Okay, and it's made up of three good friends. Right, there's Gary Leo, who used to be from was a member of Evenstarr and also played for Telebury. Adrian Ed, right, also from Telebury and also with the Nice Stupid Playground. And all right, Mac comes in as the bass player as well. So these, Telebury, NSP, Nice Stupid Playground, Evenstarr, these were some of, one of the most highly regarded bands. So they were all members of their own bands. And these guys came together somewhere in late 2019, 2020. And then, they decided to come together as this band because they had a bunch of songs. Gary especially had a bunch of songs written down. And, a lot of songs actually, because I've listened to all his demos. There's like 20 plus songs, if I'm not mistaken. And then, he said that, hey, and then he got in touch with me. Hey, JD, I'd like you to produce this EP. Let's start, let's get this EP down. So this song tonight, the title is Postcards and Regards. This is just one track out of their 4-song EP, which is currently in production. I've actually mixed 2 out of 4 songs, so this is going to be the 3rd song I'm mixing. And then after this one, there's 4, and then the EP will be done lah. So super, super cool, super exciting, okay? These guys bring back some of their influences, from the 80s and the 90s. We've got a little bit of that kind of a retro influence in their music and in their sound. And hey, bands like Nice Stupid Playground, Telebury, Evenstarr. I remember listening to them on some of the independent radio stations that we had back then during the Zaman indie glory days, man. So they are back. So anyway, let's start. All right. For those of you who are new to this channel and you are not subscribed yet, please do subscribe. Please do click on the subscribe button, become a subscriber. There are other things also that you can want to check out. We also have an email list. And one more thing about MixStream is if you want to support the channel financially and if you want to support the featured artists, you can do so by becoming a patron. And how do you do that? Right? You can sort of see it's floating around on top of the screen and also down in the description. There's the Patreon website, www.patreon.com/studio2105. Okay. If you sign up as a patron, your contribution, 50% of it is going to go to the featured artist tonight. Okay, so instructions are up there and also down in the description below, so do check it out. So without further ado, let's get started. So step one, we want to always take a big picture look at the whole song, at the entire mix. And how you do that, right, is by pulling together a rough mix. So this project was done entirely here, so it was all recorded here. Drums, bass, guitar, vocals, everything was recorded here. So as we go along, I already sort of built a rough mix already with all the different parts lah. So you can see here we've got guitar, drums all here. You got some percussion. The bass is in yellow. Clean guitars, some overdriven guitars, lead guitar parts, some effects, and all the vocals are down here lah. So let's start by taking a listen to the rough mix, get an overall picture of what the song sounds like, and I'll give you a little bit of a commentary and some additional details as well. So here we go, and the song kicks off right away. Drums, bass, guitar, everyone together. All right. A little guitar clean intro lick. And first verse. That is Gary on the vocals, and in this one, these clean guitars were played by Adrian. Yeah. Drums, by the way, right, features the awesome Ryan Baskaran, who plays with many bands. He also sessions with us on for me in my band, in Pop Shove It, and Project EAR. Okay, we're going to pre-chorus, and now we're going to the chorus. So I think the rhythm guitars in the chorus is played by Gary. I added some little guitar parts in the chorus. We'll go to that later. And oh, by the way, we also have some contribution on backing vocals from Melina William, the awesome talented Melina William. Okay, right. And let's see what else are we gonna do. Let me just colorize some of these additional tracks. So this is second verse. There's a harmony going on, right? All right. You can hear, yeah, there's Melina's vocals there. And harmonies. Okay, let's do a little bit some more coloration on these tracks. Okay, back to a little interlude. So, very straightforward arrangement, I mean, the songs here were not meant to be super complicated or super technical. It's just trying to convey the feelings, convey the emotions behind the words. And looks like we've got a good friend of ours, our moderator, Eyes and Ears Productions. Hello, Mr. Chris Pereira, shining out all the way from KK Sabah. All right. Oh, Chris, by the way, Munawir is also in the chat. I think you guys know each other, right? So what a small world. Thanks for joining me, and as you can see, you still have your moderator privileges. So you can kick and you can ban anyone who's in the chat. So kind of this outro, there's a build up, more parts. There's a little lead line actually that's going on in the background. And there we go. So, you know, this song is in this whole collection, this whole EP, this song is I would say it's like a little road trip song, because it's something that you would turn on your radio, or radio in the car nowadays. I was almost going to say CD player. Yeah, so yeah, right. So stuff, you know, it's like when you take a drive down, you know, out to the countryside. It's this kind of perfect song where you wind down the windows, you let the wind blow in your hair. That romantic countryside idea lah. So this is a nice road trip song. Awesome, man. All right. Chris says that wall of sound. All right. By the way, Nook sends his regards. Regards. All right. Likewise. All right. Hi, Nook. All right. Thank you so much. Hope you all are doing great. So now, there we go. So let's start first of all. Now, one thing that I want to sort of give a little bit of heads up as well is that I think I've mentioned it before. So I'm going to be using a lot of templates and presets today, and not presets, right? Not presets that not presets in the sense that, you know, these are the plugin presets or the effect presets. But these are the presets that I have already used, and I've already created myself based on what I've mixed the first two songs. Because if we're recording a whole bunch of collection of songs, right? Especially if it's recorded by the same drummer during the same at the same studio. In fact, you know, this was recorded even during the drums were recorded during the same session. So, and we want to maintain a consistent sound throughout the entire EP. It makes sense to be, you know, applying the same treatment to, you know, the vocals. We want to have we want the vocals to all have this consistent sound. You know, Gary, he has a signature sound. He has a very, very signature and kind of a unique tone. So we want that signature to be present, lah, right? One thing I think I should say, especially with a band like this with influences like NS and Nice Stupid Playground, I think you can kind of hear the Nice Stupid Playground, you know, kind of influence, right, in the music, and then Evenstarr as well. Again, these are bands that were Malaysian bands that, right, that we heard of in the mid 2000s lah, and of course the sonic, right, all the sonic guitar work from Ed, who's from Telebury, and Nice Stupid Playground. So a lot of it's gonna be based on presets, okay, right? These are presets, as Chris asked, right? These are not presets lah, you know, because after I mix the first song, okay, you know, I'm going to use back the same similar EQ, just save it as a presets for this project. So it makes sense that way. And mix notes, everything from during the recording of vocals, making sure that I'm using exactly the same gain stage, compression settings, everything super consistent, guitar tones, bass tones, everything. And I have written all of them down in my mix notes over here. So, right, super old fashioned, pardon me, right? I used to use Buku Lima, so you can take a look. Yeah. So those are all my mix notes for Gary's project in here. And speak of the devil, Gary is in. I hope your meetings are all going okay, man. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're super busy now with a lot of stuff, with all the craziness and madness that's going around in the world. Super appreciate it. So yeah, all right. So Chris, I hope that answers your question about what do I mean by presets lah. Okay, so let's start. So first of all, the first thing that I would want to do, and I think you long-time viewers will already know, everything I've set it up already has a certain preset as also. So even my master bus chain is really something which I've already established from the first two songs that were already mixed. So I'm using back the same master bus, so you will get the same tone, the same consistent tone, the same treatment. How it's hitting the master bus compressor is still going to be the same and consistent, lah. All right. So Gary says still got a few. We'll be in and out. No worries, man. Thank you so much. Anyway, all right. Take care. I know it's probably super stressful. Hopefully things will work out, lah. So back to where I left off. So I'm going to start off first of all, obviously with the drums, and we look at the kick drum first of all. And one of the things that I always emphasize, okay, and for me at least, because it works for me and my workflow, is I always set my initial levels first. I always make sure that I sort of gain stage my mix so that when I end up with the full mix, when all the tracks are in, I'm going to get a relatively healthy signal level. That's number one, that's not clipping. And number two, neither is it too low, right? So that it will cause, let's say, noise floor issues when it's being mastered, when it's being limited later on, okay? So how I do that, there are several. The how I at least do that is very, very simple. I aim to get my kick drum, right, peaking at about minus 12 dBFS, and I'm gonna be referring to some of my notes here. Okay, right. Let's start first of all with my kick drum sample. Yes, so this was using a samples used coming from Steven Slade drums. Okay, this is a Kick Pearl 22 BRS. So here we go. I'll just as we go along, I'll just show you what I'm doing throughout it. So on a kick sample, there's a high pass filter at 20 hertz, just to just as security. And here I've taken out about 150 hertz, quite a fair bit, about 8 dB. I scooped it out quite a lot, okay, because we don't really need that. 140, 150, that's kind of where some of the boxiness of the kick drum lies. And why is it so much? Why is it 8 dB? That's because I actually primarily going to be using the live signal from the actual mic kick drum, okay, not the sample. Because I got a fantastic drummer. We got Ryan on this, who is such a reliable drummer. He's a great session drummer for a lot of bands, a lot of people with a lot of experience in the studio as well. So primarily, it's mostly gonna be the actual live kit that you're hearing, with the sample just underneath, just to enhance it. And because I already have the live kick, I don't want the sample, which is a sample of a live drum. I don't want too much of that boxy region, 150, 200 hertz kind of region to be around there. So that's why, right, I trimmed it out. So let's go on, and preset management, let me load it. And you can see here, you can see all of these which I've already set, like Gary Reverence, Gary Snap, right? So everything is already kind of set that way. So let me load Gary Kick, and what is in here? Let's take a look, all right? First things first, I have a virtual tape machine. This is to emulate as if this was recorded on a multi-track analog tape, right? In this case, 15 IPS, 2-inch, 16-track machine, tape type FG456, which is the Quantigy 456, man. What memories, Quantigy, Ampex, no, Quantigy blood, sorry, right? My mistake there. It's Ampex 456, okay? right. After some of you older engineers out there, after they spot my mistake, then after they complain, hey, no such thing, okay? So it's the Ampex 456 and also the Quantigy GP9. These were the ones that we had around, the ones that I saw most commonly anyway. So from the virtual tape machine, it goes into virtual mix rack here. And what do I have? Okay, very cool. So it starts off with virtual channel, which is an emulation of the SSL 4000G I've selected. Then it goes into FG73, which is going through the circuitry of a Neve 1073 preamp. And then I have this gate, okay? So let's solo the kick. I will listen to how it goes, okay? So the gate drums, it comes with VMR, right? It comes with a Slate Digital virtual mix rack. is super powerful. They taken the gate circuitry that was actually from their trigger, which is their trigger software, and they've implemented it into this lah. But the cool feature is this debleed feature, right? Because it is what it does is that it's some sort of like a multi-band parallel thing, and super powerful. You can really clean up the kick drums. So let's just take a listen, right, to the kick. It's solo. Super clean. Right. Let me just bypass the gate and you'll hear. You can hear the snare bleeding through. And once I click it, once I activate it, you can even hear a little bit of hi-hat with the gate on. Super fantastic. Now, I probably want to bring the threshold a little softer because there's some of the, just a tad lower. There's some of the softer notes, the grace notes of the kick drum before the actual accent, which is kind of getting lost, right? So just touch it slower. With presets, it's always a starting point. You know, sometimes you will need to tweak it as necessary as you go along, okay? Right, so there we go. That's the kick with the gate and the debleed. Let me turn on the debleed again. I'll show you how it sounds. Without the debleed, you can hear some of the hi-hat and the high end kind of bleeding in, right? Again, you need to be either listening to this on a good pair of earphones or headphones or monitor speakers lah, okay, to be able to detect it. Okay, so debleed on, voila, automatically magic, it disappears. Okay, next thing, this is the FGA, which is the emulation of the API 550 parametric. Well, it's not fully parametric, it's a semi-parametric EQ. One of my favorite EQs lah, okay, because there's a saying that goes with the API 550A to 550B, there's only two things. Whenever you click it, either the thing sounds better or it sounds worse. No ifs, no buts, no ands, no or, right? It's either these two things. So it's one of my favorite EQs that way. So what do I have here? There is a 2 dB, this should be a bell boost at 50 Hertz, right? Bring out the fundamental. There's a 4 dB cut at 200 Hertz and another 4 dB cut at 400 Hertz lah. Effectively, actually, I'm targeting 300. So, right, because there's no 300 Hertz here, right? So you sort of got to aim for 200, 400, and then you pull those two regions down, you get a wide, broad 300. You get a wide cut at around 300 lah. So basically, that's it. So anything to do with the top end? No, nothing to do, right? The top end is flat. So bypass this so we can hear. You see, it's still good. It's a very good sounding kick drum, really good. But I just wanted to take out a little bit more of that low mid just to clean it up lah. There we go, right? Okay, super cool. So let's play the two together. And oh, hang on a second. Before that, let me just check. Do I have some other EQ settings? Yes, I do. And interesting. So I've also tweaked it so that at 96 Hertz there was this little bit of a resonance, and same thing lah. All right, let's do a 20 Hertz high pass just in case. Let's listen to it again. In fact, let's listen to both of the kick and the kick drum sample so we see how they interact together. Okay, and I think one of them is supposed to be out of phase. Let's check the polarity. There you go. Okay, so one of it is the kick drum sample is supposed to be flipped in polarity automatically, some all the bottom end. Okay, let me turn it off again so you can hear it. It's like what? It's all scooped out, you know. And what happened to that? You know, that the body. Then flip the polarity. Hello, right? Low end is back again. Okay, so let's take a look at the kick drum, and I want to sort of check and see how loud is this peaking at. So this should be okay, if I'm not mistaken. You're right. Okay, just nice. Okay, it's about 11.4. That's the region of -12 lah, around there lah. Okay, so 11.4. It's kind of where it's peaking. Right. I mean, that was the loudest peak was at 11.4, but you know, you can see they're kind of averaging at about minus 12 dBFS, around that region. Okay, yeah. So once I've set this minus 12 dBFS peak for the kick drums, the rest of the mix is going to be balanced to that. Okay, to that. So I'm pretty much not going to, most of the time, I'm not going to touch the kick drum anymore. It's going to be set at that level already. Let's move on. Let's go on. Let's bring in the snare. So let's start off with the live snare first. I have both of them at about minus 14. And let me load. Okay, let me load this similar signal chain that I have, right, with the tape and the console emulation. And this will go, okay, all of the snares will go into the snare group here. Okay, you can see it's being buzzed all into this snare group. Let's move to snare bottom. Okay, same thing, snare bottom. Right, snare bottom will be at minus 15.5. Let's listen to just the snares alone. Let's mute the kick for the second. Let's listen. So these are only the live snares. Awesome, awesome sounding. Now, I don't think I have a gate on this. Do I? Do I have a gate on this? Let's check it out, okay? All right. So, all right. So the only EQ that I would have is on the snare bottom. Let me load this in. Okay, and what do we have here? Solo the snare bottom a little bit. These are typically, right, a cut about 380 hertz and at about 630. Okay, so what are these frequencies? Let's remember 10.4. Let me just raise this up. Yeah, so you got that a little bit of a boxiness at about that frequency. And this 630 is a little bit of a slightly nasal almost kind of a honky whistling kind of a tone. So this is 8.2 dB down. This, this little very, very nasal kind of a sound. Okay, so this, let's bring this back down, 8.2 dB. So this cuts out some of the boxy and nasal thing. Let's bypass without. Cool. Yeah. So from the snare bottom, I actually don't filter out. I don't EQ out a lot of bottom end, because the bottom end actually comes from the snare drum mic. I find it's actually quite complementary to the overall sound. So if I high pass the lows on the snare bottom, I often find that it ends up sounding thinner. So very often I actually don't high pass the bottom from the snare bottom. Okay, but essentially this snare bottom, primarily why we have this bottom mic is to capture the rattle of the snare wire, and this essentially makes this like an EQ. It's an EQ. So if you want it to sound a little bit brighter, you bring up the snare bottom. If you want the snare drum to sound a little bit darker, you bring it down. Okay, you turn it down. Okay, so here we go. Listen to this. So if I turn this down, so you just hear the snare top mic, and when I bring it up, it sounds brighter. Okay, I'll exaggerate this a little bit so you can hear it. See? Okay, it gets a little louder, but it also gets a bit brighter. Okay, so there you go. The snare bottom is very useful if you have an extra mic. A snare bottom mic is always good, always handy to have. So let's move on. This goes into this group here. And what other processing do I have in the group? Let me check it out, okay? Let me check it out. Right. And yes, I do have something. And this is going to be, yeah, okay, I guessed it. So this is the black box HG2. This is actually a saturator. And I think I love using this on snare. Actually, sometimes whenever something needs a bit more excitement. So this, I've inserted this into the snare channel just to give it, usually I just want to give it a little bit more lift, a little bit more bite, right? And let's check it out, right? So without, so this is without, and this is with. Okay. Okay, now the interesting thing is that now it feels like this actually needs to compensate a little bit. Now, because the first song which I used it on was a little bit harder, so now I think I need to compensate and tweak this, because now putting it in makes it sound a little softer. Okay, so let me just compensate the output first. So bring this to about 30%, 31 bypass. There you go. Just a little bit, just a few couple of percentages, right? So now you can sort of hear what it's doing compared to when it's in bypass. So this is, again, it can be an alternative form of EQ. That's what saturation here is doing, right? So instead of using the EQ per se, right, your normal standard EQ, okay, right, I'm using this instead to give it a more sort of a wider range, a broader spectrum, kind of more musical sounding EQ, right, instead of something surgical like a parametric EQ. So that's basically it. Okay, so we've got that down. Let's move on to hi-hat. And hi-hat is okay, let me just, as usual, let me just load in all the necessary plugins. Okay, console emulation. Now my hi-hat, right, don't need all the bottom. I actually roll this up pretty high, actually, at about 950, almost 960 hertz. And this is going to be at 18.6. Let's listen solo to hi-hat for a second. Very cool. All right, let's keep playing. All right, so I don't need all the top end now. Okay, so there's this little EQ here just to notch out again that a little bit of this 857. Yeah, this honkiness out there, that's about 850, 860 hertz. So there you go, kick, snare, and hi-hat. That's done. We've got our kick, snare, and hi-hat done. Now, let's skip the toms. Let's go straight over to the overheads first of all, right? Let's drop in, right, with the overheads. And these are about minus 14. Okay, so they're at the correct level already. Okay, let's copy the settings over. Let's listen to the overheads. Very, very nice. Super cool. Kick, snare, and overhead. Okay, that's all. Let's load in. Let's see what we have here. Okay, I have the overhead group, which is basically just a setting for this. This is the AUSys E2 de-esser. So this, I love using this de-esser because it's super versatile. It's not only something that you use for de-essing. What is a de-esser? But anyway, it is a frequency specific, which means that you can target. It's a compressor. It's a dynamic controller that you can target a certain frequency or a certain bandwidth, a band of frequencies. So this is where another very great use case for de-essers are. So this will probably be something I'll play towards the end of the song where it gets a little bit busier and a little heavier. You'll see how it reacts. So this is just easing off a little bit of the extreme top end, especially when the crash comes in, whenever the cymbals crash. Right? Just gives it a little bit of smoothing at the top. Not much. As you can see here, 1.5 dB, 2 dBs. That's all. Right? Very, very gentle, easing off. So that's what it's doing. I have, let's say, high pass filter at about 75. Okay, solo the overheads. Okay, very cool. Okay, getting overhead group. Okay, two little cuts here, right? One about 320 and another about 835 hertz. Just to cut out some of the, again, some of the honkiness. I think you just heard the synth lead over there. Let me mute that for a second, okay? That comes only later. So there you go, right? Overheads. Let's move on. Room microphone. Now, the room microphones play a very, very important role, okay? So same thing, let's bring in the kick drum, the tape and console emulation. And these are gonna be at minus 17 dB. All right, okay. Which is about right. minus 17, which is about right. And let's check out what do we have in the room group. Okay, so as you can see, these are all grouped, and the reason I'm doing this is so for workflow lah. So nothing on the group. That's okay. All right, let's load in for the, how about the channel strip? Okay, let's see. Okay, cool. Nothing else. So this one, there's not much EQ to it. All I did was just high passed it at about 36, right? So, and at about 10K, right? So that's it. Let's listen to the room, right? So just taking out some of the bottom, very bottom end and the top end. I know why there's nothing on this, by the way. Okay, there's no processing on this, because when I recorded this, right, I actually recorded the room mics with compressions. I was using a DBX compressor down there to record the room. So that's why you can hear that it's right. You can hear it. It's already slightly compressed. It's got a bit of a pumping sound. Very tight sounding already. So this is again because I was recording this. That's why I made sure I had very all the control that I wanted over how the drum sound is going to end up like. Then once that's done, once you get the sound done, taken care of in the chat, pula. once you get your sound source right during the recording, when it comes time to mix, nothing much to do. You just need to balance it. Okay, and you can hear it's already got some sort of room ambience to it because I compressed the room mics a little bit more. So already it sounds very 3D without adding any reverb. Okay, now speaking of reverb, we are actually gonna go to it. Let's take a look right now. Okay, so there are a couple of effects that I have. One that I use is reverence. Let me just load up. Okay, because there is a specific preset that I used in here. So reverence and also a little bit of an EQ, just a little dip here at 740 and at about 1K, right? These are usually some of the resonances in the reverb lah with the drums. Now, so I am using this, right? This preset snare plate, this impulse, which I've loaded into reverence. So where is the reverb gonna be? Okay, the reverb's gonna be coming from some of the samples, which I will add on a little bit later. And it's also gonna be coming in from the actual sample itself and also the overhead. So let's do that right now, okay? Let's do that right now. So here we go. Snare group. Let's send this reverb over. Okay. 0 and also overheads. Yeah. All right. Reverb on the overheads. This is a trick which I actually learned from watching Chris Laudalch. This is something that he does. He likes to send the reverb on the overheads. Okay. Right. So something that I tried it and then it's like, hey, yeah, works pretty good as well. Okay. It gives you a bit of that space. It gives you that spaciousness, that width, without taking away the immediacy that comes from the close mics. So let's just listen with these. That's with the reverb. Very cool. Okay, now let's bring in the snare samples. Okay, first one. This one is called Snare Pearl 5 EXO, which probably means snare export. I'm just guessing. That's what it means. Okay, so nothing on this except for just a high pass at about 40, about 50 hertz, meaning. Okay, so how does this one sound? Right. Okay, very straightforward. Okay, the samples already sounds good. Right, don't need to tweak much to it. So at about 18, I have a reverb on this. All right, which is about at -3. Let's check it out. Okay, check the polarity. Okay, that's very cool. Okay, now it does sound like it's a lot of reverb for now. Okay, But bear in mind, we are listening to the drums in isolation, in solo. Bass, guitars, everything is not blended in yet. So at this point in time, it may sound like there's a ton of reverb on it, but when everything is in context later on, it should sound fine, okay? It should sound fine, okay? And this is a second sample. This is another sample which I use. So this one, all right, it's called Snare Bob because this came from the one of my first sample libraries which I got lah, which was right. These are all the Bob Clear Mountain samples, all right, the drum samples. So I know it's a very very popular drum sample which has gone around. Okay, so here we go. There you go. So this one is like a much more very very live sounding high pitched tune snare sample. So this is just gonna go behind it. Okay. Okay. Very good. All right. Right. So original, the way it is, sounds better. And there we go. There you have it. Okay, let's move on to the toms, right? We can really accelerate this. So let's go to, let's say, a section where we get a lot of toms. Okay, as you can see, these have already been edited. So instead of strip silencing the toms, what I prefer to do is, I sort of trim out the sections where there's no toms, just leaving it in and just turn the overall volume a little bit down. The reason why I don't want to totally silence the toms is because actually the bleed that comes from the tom mics, it is, I would call it, it's the glue, right? It is the glue that really blends and helps the whole drum kit, the whole drum sound gel together. Otherwise, to me, if you mute or you gate or you silence out all the parts where there's no toms, right? All the gates, all that, it sounds too detached. It starts sounding like, a collection of separate instruments that were just overdubbed on each other instead of sounding like one drum kit. So generally that's what I would do anyway. Let's look for a section with maybe some toms. Let's look for tom 1, okay? So tom 1 is, tom 1's going to be pretty high, and -6. Oh, okay. I've got a right setting already, so that is super cool. Let's load in. What do we have? Okay, all right. So this is gonna be same thing. Tape and console emulation. High pass filter is gonna be at 32. Okay, 32. And let's check out the EQ. This was recorded once again during the same session with the same drummer, same kit, same miking, same night. Okay, so that's why we can afford to use back these presets. So helps to save time when you maintain things consistently. Okay, so let's listen to just the tom alone. This was a 12-inch tom, if I'm not mistaken. So most of the toms in here are tuned fairly low, right? Because we're going for that, kind of a vintagey kind of sound. Let's double check, all right? The polarity with the overheads, always a good habit, even though I know I recorded this. Okay, so let's check. Okay, so this is with the overheads. Let's flip the polarity. Now, okay, I think it would help if I were to, let me switch off all the effects first of all the reverb. Turn off all the effects. Let's solo this. Okay. Flip polarity. Okay, now, so I've actually made a note here which I actually flipped the polarity on this. So this is why you should always make it a good habit to also check in the mix. Even though when this was recorded and the polarity was checked during the recording, right? Somehow after I've inserted these plugins and applied this EQ curve, it sounded better when I flipped the polarity back again in the mix. So it's always a good habit. Don't assume, basically don't go into any don't go into a mix assuming that everything is already phase coherent, all the phase, everything is all properly checked, even though you were the one who did the recording. It's always a good habit. Check again, right? Just takes a second to check your flip the polarity and check and compare, see? So again, right? Good habit to do. Let's move on to floor tom. Floor tom, same deal. Okay, now with the floor tom, there is a high pass at about 23 hertz, 22.9 to be precise. And right, this is the EQ curve that we go for. So let's listen to both toms, right? Nice, okay. All right, let's listen to everything in context. Actually, so once again, toms are all going to a group. So what do I have here in the tom group? Do I have anything? Do I have anything? No, I don't. Okay, now there will be, let me just double check first. Okay, now with the toms, don't really need a lot of the top end, okay? All right, just all the top end you don't really need. And in fact, this was set to a 6 dB per octave, which is a little gentler, right? A little more gentle. What else do we have here? Reverb is being sent about minus 5.4, roughly around that. So let's listen to maybe a section where we have toms. Let's sit down here. Like here. There we go. Nice, okay, very, very nice. Now I have this right symbol, I know that I have this right symbol. Let's see whether we will need it or not. Okay, I think we do, but just in case, because in my notes here I actually did use it. Let's check it out lah, okay? So at about minus 14 and my EQ was about 1K, so 104, oh, hello, 1046. Okay, so take out everything below 1K lah. Don't really need it. This is the closed mic for the right symbol is more for the localization. It's just to help to enhance the localization of how it sounds in the stereo field, in the stereo image, because the majority of this, a big proportion of the sound is really coming through the overheads. So this is just to enhance localization. All right, that's all. Yeah, so the right comes in the chorus. We just solo. Yeah, so it's just that, all right? So it is just that, okay? All right, Chris says, gotta go for a bit. Wow, oh wait, gonna try and fix a PC issue. PC, Chris? Since when did you use PC? I thought you're like a Mac guy, like a hardcore Mac fella. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. The Russian bots are back. Hoodrich Trilogics. Oh god. Okay, let me deal with the bots first of all. I don't know what's it about. Like the past 2-3 live streams especially, we get a lot of bots inside the chat. So let me report this bot. Harassment or but okay, right, unwanted. It's spam lah, okay. Okay, let's get this fella. And welcome, Shah Silver. Thank you very much for tuning into the live stream, man. Shah Silver says hi. With a little hand wave back to you, bro. Solid sound. Thank you for joining in. Where are you tuning from, by the way? All right, where are you watching from? Do let me know, okay? All right. So, what else do we have left? Now, the last thing that I'm going to blend in would be the room sound from the SSD, right? The Steven Slate drums. Okay, so let me double check and see. Do I have any EQ on this? Looks like no. Again, super straightforward. No EQ on this. Just blending it in at about, minus 13.5. So let's solo this. Yeah. That's it. All right. All right. Okay, let's move on. So there you go, drums. All right. Actually, sorry. Before I jump ahead of myself, let me just do one more thing. I think on the drum bus, yes. Okay. All right. On the drum bus, let me just show you what I have here. I have one more thing. All right. I don't like using compression on most of the close mics. I'm not a fan of it, right? Again, it's probably my influences lah. The engineers that I am influenced by don't use a lot of compression on the close mics, but they do apply compression on the bus, okay, on a drum bus. So instead of compression, I do use a limiter. In this case, this is a little clipper, right, just as a limiter for the peaks lah. Okay, so let me just show you, right, right. In fact, because this is a much lighter song, we don't really need it. Let's check out the louder parts of the song, which is near the end, towards the end. Yeah, in fact, this doesn't even kick in at all, all right? So in this case, right, we don't need it. So go back to this API. So the API 2500 is my all-time favorite, right, for using for drums. The only thing I changed pretty much is that it's a 3-to-1 ratio. This is an auto release. Yeah, this is on the auto setting, and the very fast. Is this release or what? Okay, yeah. So this is on the variable release. So that's right. Okay, so there you go. Right, very fast. Let's see, attack is at 0.1 milliseconds, so it allows a little bit. Let's just listen to it. Awesome. Turn off the effects for a while. Right, I turn off the reverb so it's a little bit easier to just hear what it's doing. Okay, let's bypass. Okay, now I have set it so that it's kind of letting go a lot of transients. I want to keep the punch of the drums, but what it's bringing up is a lot of that room. It's bringing out a lot of that spaciousness. Just makes it sound a little bit bigger. We're not trying to make the drums super punchy. This song is not the type of song for it lah. Okay, it's not like a super aggressive drum sound, right? Not for this song, and not for the band anyway. Okay, so that's basically what we have. So let's turn this back on. That's your drum sound. Let's check it out. Sweet. Let's move on now. Next thing, bass. Okay, for the bass on this, if I am not mistaken, I actually played on this bass. I actually played the bass for this song, right? So because I think at this point, we didn't really get Mac involved yet. But anyway, here we go. So what do I put on the bass? Same thing, all right? Let's start with the tape and console emulation plugins first of all. High pass at 20, right? And let's put it on both. So as you will notice, there's actually two bass tracks. One is bass DI. This was recorded using the radial JDI, right, direct box. So the DI track itself, right, gives me a very clean bass tone. Now what I have down here, TH, on the other hand, TH here stands for tone hammer, which is the Aguilar tone hammer. So I actually use these two different DI boxes. One, the JDI is very clean. The tone hammer dialed in with a little bit of EQ, with a little bit of I don't know whether there's maybe some drive in it. Could be clean as well, but usually the tone hammer is sculpted a little bit contoured to give a little bit of character. So a clean sound and a character sound blend together, right, to give the best of both worlds. So let me just load up what we have in the bass group. I'll just show you what we have. Gary bass group. And voila. Okay. Very cool. Sean says from Kuala Selangor. Thanks for watching, man. Cheers, man. All the way from Kuala Selangor. Okay. Sudah makan ke belum? Well, it's really like 10:15. I hope you guys are not taking too late a dinner lah. Okay. Let me have a sip of coffee here. All right. Excellent coffee, Nescafe. Okay, so let's start. Let me just run you folks through what I have on the bass groups lah. Okay, so starting off, in fact, let me go back down here first. Looks like I actually did high pass quite a bit of. No, sorry, high pass, but I did low pass quite a bit of stuff. So let's check it out and see, right? So I pretty much high passed everything above 2K actually. And the reason for that, I think, is because we were going for yeah, we were going for that very old vintage kind of a bass tone. So yeah, and we didn't want a lot of that metallic clicking sound. All right. I have to admit, the bass that I used was actually the Yamaha, Yamaha BB1004, which is a relatively modern sounding bass. So not exactly the ideal bass for this lah. If I had a Fender Precision, right, like a P bass or something like that, or a jazz bass, right, that would be a little bit more appropriate. So this was just to kind of get it more into that ballpark lah, right, that vintage P bass kind of sound. I had to roll off quite a bit of the highs, right? So pretty drastic, 2K, right? So it's it's a very very warm kind of a bass sound. So back to the bass group. So the two DI tracks, bass DI and the tone hammer, both are routed to this group. First things first that I have here, this is Wave C4. This is a multi-band compressor. What it does essentially is that I've set this so that only the low band is working. All right, all these other top three bands are all bypassed lah. Okay, all right, they're not not being used. So only the low band is acting. So this threshold here, I've set it to about 180 hertz. So this means this is only acting on the really low frequencies, the fundamental root notes lah, basically, of the song that's involved. Sometimes you need to adjust depending on the key of the song, lower, high, but I find that the region of about 180 to 200 is pretty much where I want to set this. Okay, so this is what it does. So it's just massaging the lower end a little bit. That's pretty much what it's doing. Right, super nice, very very even. Next thing I have, this is Surfer EQ. Now this is a very very cool and very very powerful processor. What this does is that it tracks, right, the frequencies in real time. So do I have this on? Looks like no. Looks like it's not activated. So okay, let's forget about it. Okay, if you want to find out how I work on this other bass, how I use Surfer EQ, please do check out the other episodes of a MixStream, right? And I've made it very easy for you to sort of navigate. So in the description of the previous episodes, I've already included the timestamps. So you just click on, let's say, the timestamp that if you want to talk, where I talk about bass, where I'm mixing the bass, just click on it. It will take you straight away there. Like, it skips right to that point. Okay, so it's easy. So since we're not using this in this project, let's skip this. Okay, I'm gonna bypass this. I don't want. I've explained this in depth in other videos already. Let's move on. Next thing we have here. This is an instance of the Universal Audio. This is the 1176 limiting amplifier, the very very famous 1176. I got a real one down here. In fact, my voiceover mic is actually going through the 1176 lah. Okay, so this is set to about 4:1 ratio. Release is medium fast, right? Still fairly fast. Attack is set to slow because at about just above 2, right? Just to sort of let the transients go lah. I'm very usually have a very slow attack because unless you really want to kill the transients, but in this case no lah, we don't want to kill the transients. Okay, so that's what it's doing. So a lot of the heavy work, yeah, so you can see it's pretty aggressive now, but that's not all. Okay, so that's what the 11.6 is doing. I have next thing, Bass Rider. So this is from Waves. Bass Rider is a plugin that looks ahead at the incoming signal. In this case, it's tuned to be, sensitive towards bass, right? Bass type instruments, bass type frequencies, and it will even it out. So this is what I'm going for. It's very simple to use. You will see that this rider fader thing here will move automatically up and down. All you need to do is to set the target level, and you need to set the range, and compensate for the output lah. Because sometimes it may push the volume up, sometimes it may push the volume down. So output wise, you also have to compensate. Okay, all right. I'm hearing this buzz that's coming out, like somebody's running a generator or something like next door. Anyway, let's go on. So let's see. All right. Okay. Let's play the bass, bass. All right. Okay. So we're roughly about the same ballpark. And again, right, because I took care to make sure that again gain structure during recording was consistent. I use the same gain structure while recording, so it simplifies everything later down the line. Okay, so gain structure is important. Next thing I have MV2, and this is really where the secret sauce of the bass comes from. MV2 is a great it's a super simple plugin. It's only 3 controls: output, high level, which in this case not doing anything, and the magic one, which I love down here. This is called low level. Waves calls it low level compression. What it does, it's a combination of expansion, it's a combination of parallel processing, and they don't really tell you what happens under the hood. They just call it low level compression, but that's what it does lah. Okay, so last time, in order to sort of replicate what you need to do, you need to set up a complicated parallel processing with expander. It was a complicated thing that you need, several plugins to achieve what this one plugin does. So MV2, right, is this awesome plugin. So what this does is that it's bringing up, all right, especially all the low level, the detail. So it brings up things like the definition of the notes, the finger or the pick attack. It brings things up like the sustain. So it basically brings up all the detail and all the energy lah. That's in the instrument. In this case, we're talking about bass, because you have the transient, right? But if you want something to be bigger, fatter, right, you want to increase the sustain, the apparent size of the instrument without it sounding louder. MV2 is great for that. Okay. So there we go. What else do we have here? Our bass is not being used. This is a Renaissance bass. It's there in my chain. It's only if I need to use it. Virtual mix rack. Okay, so this is VMR. Right, there is an instance of the mix bus at the end. So this is set to a API. Now, in this case, I've set this to API because the API one is a little cleaner. So I don't want this to have that much coloration as compared to the SSL, which I use most of the time. So here it goes. What do I have here? This is 800 Hertz, right? Boosted by about 4 dB, okay? 800 Hertz is a great frequency if you want to bring out the detail, clarity, and definition of a bass without having to bring up all the boominess. We don't want it to boom. We just want the bass. All right, I just want the bass to be clearer, and that's it. Pretty much. Listen to the bass and drums. Let's check it out. Voila! Awesome. Okay, right. So I have a high pass as well, and I think I double high pass the thing, right? Because maybe some of it was bringing out some of the top end. So I also put another high pass at about that region, about 1K. Okay, I'm going to show you one small little trick. I'll jump to doing this right now. So one little common trick that you can do in terms of automation and creating dynamics, for example, in a song, in a mix, the goal is to always to capture the listener's attention. The listener listens to the intro, you want to catch their attention. As they keep listening to the verse, you want more interesting stuff to happen. And when it goes to the chorus, that's even more important. You want the listener to keep on want to listen, okay? So there are many ways of doing it. Arrangement is one of the things. The parts is one of the things, right? Choice of notes, choice of melody, choice of harmonies is another method. But in the mix, this is something that we mixing engineers can also do. So one of the things that I will do on the bass is that when we get to the choruses, when all the guitars and all the other instrument stuff, it becomes big, we also want to automate the low end as well. So this is what is going to happen. This is only a 1 dB boost, a shelf at 100 Hertz, and it does just that. A very, very, very subtle thing, right? So when all the guitars, everything come in, let me just quickly unmute, right? So when everything comes in here, right, when everything kicks in, right, we don't want to forget, we want the low end also to also grow and expand by that amount. Okay, so let me turn off the. Let's just leave all these rhythm guitars on for now. Okay, let me show you. Let's automate, and we're going to engage this when it gets into the chorus. Okay. Okay. One, two, two. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1 dB boost. And it is gonna. So we maintain this all the way, right? And then we'll cut out, disable this at the end of the chorus when we get back to the verse. And hey, we've got Mac in the chat as well, right? One of the members of the band also. Gary was here earlier. Right. So thanks, Mac. Thanks for tuning in. How you doing, bro? It's been a while, right? Super, super awesome, man. Good to hear you. Right. Hey, we miss all your cool stuff and all the cool pedals that you have, man. Right. I wish we could do. We should probably do like a gear dive one of these days into all the stuff that we use. But you can probably see we actually have a couple of. I have a couple of scraps videos that's on the YouTube channel where there was some behind the scenes footage of the band's Feir's recording session. So do check it out. Okay, you probably will see Mac, you see Adrian, you see Gary's faces in there. Right. So so we automate this in the chorus. Let's go to the second chorus. Same thing. Okay, let's automate this. Okay, and then it comes out. Very nice. And of course, last but not least, the final end chorus. Okay, this one kicks in right here. And for this one, we'll leave this EQ on all the way to the end, right? Because it's all the way, it's ending. So there we go. Drums and bass. Now, let's move on. Next thing, clean guitars. So these guitars here, these were recorded with if I'm not mistaken, this was a Tele. If I'm not mistaken, this was a Tele, and this was played by Adrian, right? So now this was going through the AC30, so it's a Telecaster going through an AC30. If I'm not mistaken, it was a middle position, if my memory serves me correctly. So let's just listen to just the amp alone. This was recorded with a Bear Dynamic M160, which is a ribbon mic. My ultimate favorite for recording guitar amps, man. The M160 sounds great. Okay, so now basically there's nothing much, just a little bit of high pass, a little bit of a low pass at about 8K, just one little EQ over at 3.5K just to sort of remove a little bit of a ring. And this is pretty much it. Okay, I'm not gonna touch or tweak any more of the EQ. Compression wise or so, we recorded this with compression, the pedal signal chain that we had. All I need to do, we got the sound right there and then during the recording session, and just balance it. That's all. So okay, very, very cool. Now, the other thing that we did do, right? So we did record it with the guitar to an amp mic'd up, but we also have a DI track. So let's listen to this. This is a DI track, and I am running this through, in this case, running it through Overloud THU. Okay, which again it comes along with the Slate Digital All Access Pass. So let me load this up. So now this is also an ERS AC30 chain, but the only difference in this instance is that, right, the first one, the actual real actual amp was clean. Here we added a little bit of distortion, a little bit of drive in here. Actually, it's probably more than just a bit. Let's take a listen. Okay, so clean, it would be this. how remarkably close sounding it is. This is an AC30 to the real AC30, except that, you know, I have with the ribbon mic, it sounds slightly darker lah. So now this is with the distortion pedal engaged. Yeah, so this is a slightly dirtier sound. So we combined both. I blended both of them in. So not only that, right, I pan one left, pan one hard right, you got a nice wide stereo. So that's one of the things which you can, right, play with, right, if you have a DI box. Record a clean DI track, which you can either reamp or you can send it to a VST amp simulator like what I have here. You can run it through plugins, or you can, and then, right, you combine it with the other signal, split out to the actual amp. So here we go, best of both worlds, right? So let's listen, let's play back. Yep, so that's pretty much it. So this would basically be the same, all right? Okay. Now, except this one overlaps a little bit, so let's check it out, okay? So this is going into the chorus. Now, in the chorus, right, this is more of this is slightly more aggressive. It's an aggressive strum, so just bringing the level down a little bit lah. Okay. About actually it's about 2 or 3 dB softer. Okay. This should just be about right. Okay. Let's try this. And same thing over here. This is again the same setting, right? With the in fact, this is different. This is with a Fender Bassman. Let's check this out. Just out of curiosity, let's hear how this sounds. So here's the thing. Now I went the other way around. See, so with the strummed parts, the strum guitar parts, this is still the Tele through the AC30. With the rhythmic strumming in the chorus, this one is dirty. Right, it's got a little bit of overdrive in it. I can't remember what did we use, right? Or what exactly, which pedal? Was it the Analog Man, King of Tone? Again, I can't remember. We went through so many, we played with so many pedals during the session. I can't remember which pedals we used. So now we have a dirty guitar, which is the rhythm guitar. So in this case, I used the DI track to add a cleanish sound to it. So this is what we did. This is a right, with a model of a Fender Bassman. So let's check it out. This is going to be on the right hand side. There's a tiny bit of dirt in it because, you know, we're kind of driving the amp a little bit, right? But overall, generally, this is a clean-ish sound, okay? So once again, it's something that we blend together. Very cool. Super, super cool. Alright, so let's move on to the distortion, the overdrive guitar. So these overdrive guitars were recorded by Gary. So let's check the overdrive guitars by itself in solo. Again, same thing, left, right. Also through the AC30, if I'm not mistaken, and also with the Barrett Dynamic. But this was with a Les Paul. This was recorded with a Les Paul. So these are Les Pauls, okay? So let's listen to it. Sounds good already. It sounds good on its own. I'm just going to take out a little bit of the bottom. The extreme bottom. All right. A little bit of the... I feel like I don't need it. Okay, and one bit of fizz here. At 3.4K, right? Just notch out a little bit at 3.4K. That's it. That's all. That's all, man. Okay. And let's copy these settings over to this guy. It's double tracked, obviously, right? And let's blend these guys in. Okay, let me sort of rearrange this so I have the actual mic tracks here. These two. These are the mics. These are the two DI tracks. Okay, we'll deal with the DI tracks later. Let's link the two so it's easier, and let's check it out. Nice. Probably could do with a little bit of brightness, but before we go forward, let's check out the DI. Okay, so on the DI track also, right, THU, and same approach, right? I have an overdriven sound. I would use a clean sound to give it a little bit more definition. I would take the DI and run it through a clean amp simulation. No point in, again, not to say no point, this is not what I want. If you want to make it even more overdriven, there's the option there as well. I can always run it, put it through a high gain amp. But in this case, right, I have an overdriven tone. I want to blend in a little bit of clean signal here. So this is what we are gonna do. Let's blend these two guys in. Link the channels. Right, here we go. So this is the cleanish kind of a sound. Let's blend with the two. Yep. So basically from two guitar tracks, two takes, we're getting 4 tracks out of it. 2 from the mic, 2 via the DI. So it's a very, very nice, thick and rich sound. Now this probably needs a little bit of brightening, and I know what to do. This will need the Better Maker. Okay, so this one's a little dark because this, again, Les Paul, it's a humbucker, so you know, a little bit darker sound. So let's listen to it in context. So probably about, let's bring the boost up. Let's turn it down to maybe 5K. 6K, no. 10K is way too high, I can't really hear anything. Okay, so yeah, it takes about 3 dB of this boost at 6K. Let's solo the guitars again, so it's easier for you guys to hear. So this is without EQ. A little darker. Right, this helps to just give it a little bit of brightness. Okay, and it's also made it a little bit louder, so I got to compensate this down for a bit. Okay, all right, let me compensate by about half a dB. Let's see. Bypass. Yep. So see, darker, brighter, a little bit more forward, darker without the EQ, with the EQ bypass. This is with the guitars a little bit more forward. So very, very cool. Okay, very important. Again, whenever you do any sort of EQ or processing, you always want to make equal volume comparisons, because it's very easy to trick your ears into believing that something sounds better than it actually is simply by virtue of it being louder. Okay, it's a psychoacoustic phenomenon. We are always attracted, we always perceive something that's louder as better, but actually, in actual fact, it may not necessarily be so loud. Okay, all right, so there we go. That's the guitars there, and let's blend this back in, okay, with this clean rhythm. So essentially there's 3 guitars going on. Actually there's more down here, but we'll get to that later. So let's listen to everything blended together. We can bring this up a bit, I think. Oh, too much. there's a little bit of, I'm hearing, yeah, there's one little ring here at about 2.2K, right, that I'm now spotting. Yeah, just a little ring that was coming from the telly, I think, right? 2K, yeah, that's kind of the region where the telly always has that little bit of that forward upper mid range push there. It's the thing which helps the telly cut through, but sometimes it will kind of trigger those kind of frequencies lah. So we have one more thing here. This is, let's check this track out. Where? Okay. So this is this was played by Adrian as well. This was on the telly, if I'm not mistaken. So this is again an overdriven sound, more like but a different voicing lah, somewhere higher up, right? The range more like in the middle towards the upper register of the guitar. So this is what it's doing. So yeah. So in fact, I've already kind of EQ'd it already. Take out a lot of bottom end. We don't really need it, and a good amount of boost at 1.5 kilohertz, man. About 10 dB there, so that's quite a healthy boost there. Just curious, let's listen to it without the EQ. Let's bypass the EQ. Ah, okay. So this one is much more, this could be a strat. It sounds like it's either like a strat in the second or fourth position, right? Because it's got that slightly out of phase. But I wanted this part to really be a little bit more bitey, so that's why this EQ 10 dB at about 1.5 hertz. Looks pretty drastic, but again, this is only how it looks, okay? The important thing is, how does it sound? Okay, so in context, where I have this guitar pan all the way to the right. Yeah, I do. In fact, I may even not pan it all the way in. Let's bring this in a little bit to the middle. Yeah, just tucking it in little, maybe to about 75. Okay, and we do have another amp in here. Now, this one I'm using something different. This is Waves GTR, and this one going for a clean thing, is it? Yeah, okay. Here I was adding this clean, so I have, again, it's a dirty signal, blend it with a clean signal lah. Basically, that's what it's doing. All right, so let's just blend it in. There we go. Super awesome. Okay. All right, cool. Okay. Now, I'm going to jump forward. Let's go over to the right? We've got the drums down, we've got the bass down. Let's go to vocals. Okay. So, let me just do a quick check. I want to sort of confirm whether or not did I do the doubling trick. I don't think so, because for Gary's voice and vocal, we don't really need it. Okay, very cool. Yep. So it's not done. It's not necessary. So let's see. If you want to watch a little bit more about the vocal doubling trick, again, it's already been done. I've got a lot of other episodes of MixStream which I've already shown that. But not only that, there's actually a specific video on my channel, right, called the vocal doubling trick, where I sort of explain and I show it in detail and using some stock plugins. So there's a channel on my video already. Do go and check it out, okay? Right. And once again, please subscribe if you haven't done so already, okay? Let's move on to the vocals. So the vocals are verse, chorus, second verse, chorus, and then chorus and ending. Super straightforward, simple arrangement, okay? We don't need to be super complicated. We don't need to overthink things. So let's start off. Now, I mentioned before that we are using presets, so to speak, but these are presets which I really worked out, right? Specifically that I tailored for Gary's vocals in this case. I'll just run you through what I'm using in here. Okay, I'm going to start off first of all, right? First thing I actually used is Metatune. So this is one of the newest additions to from Slate Digital as well. So this Metatune is a, well, you know, as you got your famous auto tune, you got your famous Melodyne as well, and Cubase also has very audio. I'm using Metatune because Metatune is very, it's really transparent. It's, I know, and I've been getting very good results after using it for a lot of times lah. Okay, so I've used Metatune a lot. But the cool thing about Metatune is that it's also got this doubler function built into it, and this is actually one of the key things towards Gary's signature sound lah, right? You know, it's always like a multi-layered, very multi-timbral thing, and Metatune really helps to get me towards that direction. So let's solo the vocal first of all. Let's take the verse, and I'll show you what it is, right? So let's bypass. Now, come down now. Let me turn off the effects as well, so you can sort of just hear the Metatune by its own. Come down now to my place. You can hear it, you know, it's a bit of like a modulated sound to it. Now I'm going to exaggerate this a little bit so you can hear that it's a little bit too extreme. I set it about 11%. Let me try exaggerating it, then you hear exactly what I mean, okay? This is going to end up on a lot of records, you know. Some people say, right, this sound. So 11%. Let's bring it up. Come down now. Come down now. Very cool chorusing, doubling effect. Forever. And of course, you can go forever in my mind. Okay, right. Now at 100%, it sounds a little bit wavery and you know, getting a little bit out of tune. Really, just want a little bit, a tiny hint of that. Okay, all right. And you see later on also, I also sort of add a little bit more other effects later on to add to the whole effect lah. Okay. I may turn this up because the difference here in this song is that unlike the other song, this one the verses are not double tracked. So maybe I will turn this up later, okay? But let's run through the rest of the single chain. Okay, next thing I have, this is TDR Nova, right? This is by Tokyo Dawn Labs. This is a parallel dynamic EQ. What's a parallel dynamic EQ, you may ask? Okay, you know, okay, your regular EQ, you can boost, you can cut, you can set the bandwidth, you can set your center frequency. That's what a definition of a parametric EQ is, right? You can adjust these three parameters. But a dynamic EQ takes it one step. It combines the characteristic behavior of a compressor along with an EQ. So here's what I have done, right, to this. There's a high pass, 12 dB per octave, about 117, is basically 120 hertz. And there is also a low pass at about 15.5K. Now, I very seldom do this on vocals because actually for most of the time, you know, with vocals, the trend is usually to go for the very airy kind of a sound. But again, this is Gary's signature tone. You know, he's got a very signature sound. We're going for a slightly retro-ish lo-fi kind of effect. So that's why the roll off, right, at about 15K, all these high frequencies, right? And I may compensate it back later on depending on whether it's needed or not. Okay, so that's basically what it is: high pass and low pass. Now, here is where the parallel dynamic EQ comes in. So pay attention, there's two bands here, number 2 and 3. They are centered at, right, band 2 is at about 654 hertz. Band 3 is about 3.8K. So again, once again, see what this parallel dynamic EQ is. I've set it to this, and so what this is doing is that those particular frequency, right? In this case, 3.8K is probably a little bit of like harsh resonances near 4K range. And the other one, 650, is, you know, where you get the kind of a nasal, honky kind of sound. So you see what does it do, okay?
Come down now.
Let me turn the effects down again so you can hear.
Come down now to my place.
Okay, this is not so obvious. Let's go to the chorus somewhere where it's a little bit more aggressive. Then you see.
Always, I'm there with you always. I've never had thought
So you can see what this does, right? A dynamic EQ, it's only acts when that particular frequency exceeds a threshold. So for example, in this case, when 650 hertz gets a bit too nasal, too honky, the EQ will kick in. Same goes for this. This is 3.8K. So when that frequency gets a bit too harsh, right, the EQ comes in and takes it down, right? And then the instance where it's not needed, it lets it go. So it is a very powerful and a very transparent form of EQ / dynamic control, okay? All right, so that's basically what it does. Moving on, what do we have next? Same thing, right? Similar. I've also the same virtual tape machine and the virtual mix rack and with a console and preamp emulation, except again two differences. Now, instead of the FT73, I am using the Hollywood Virtual Tube Collection. Yeah, this is it's not a particular model, but this is just a particular kind of a vibe. So this is a tube preamp instead. So it's running, instead of a solid state, this is running through a tube preamp emulation, which helps to give a little bit of edge, right? Can give a little bit of bite, a little bit of harmonics to the vocal, which is very beneficial. And the next thing that's here, okay, I'll give me a second. Let me mute the mic because I need to clear my throat. I need to take a sip of water. Thanks so much, okay? Okay. It's more like a sip of coffee instead of a sip of water. Hey, Gary is back. All right. How the meeting goes, man? Okay. Gary says there, how many guitars we use? Oh, we use a lot of guitars, right? I know we use a lot of max pedals. So I think in this session, the way I hear it, I can hear a Tele, I can hear the Les Paul, I can hear these two guitars. So probably these two, and then the lead lines. That's definitely Adrian's GNL. Essentially, it's a Fender lah. Okay. So back to where we were. Lead vocal. So one thing that I love to do on lead vocals is to use parallel compression. Now, in the past, I used to have to create two different, make a duplicate of a channel, right? And one would be the uncompressed signal, and the second one I'll be running through a limiter or compressor with very, very high compression ratios, and that would be a very, very aggressive bleed process. And then you blend the two together. So this is I love the sound of parallel on vocals because it's a very, very transparent form of compression. It gives you the energy, the density, the consistency, the dynamic control of, something very limited, but you still have the very natural dynamics of the uncompressed signal. So you blend the two both in, and then there you go. Nowadays, it's a lot more easier. A lot of plugins, most modern plugins nowadays already have the mix control already, which essentially means, parallel compression built in. So super, super easy. So this one is FG Stress, which is the distressor, right? And I've set a setting so that we get some parallel compression. So let's listen to the vocals.
Never my pride to bear.
Okay, you can see, right? So this is kind of driving to get a bit of grit on the tube. And you're getting like 10 dB, 12 dB, sometimes up to 14 dB of gain reduction on the compressor. Sometimes even hitting up to 17 dB. So that's a lot of gain reduction actually. All right, that's quite a lot. But because this is parallel, and I have it usually about 50-50, okay? But because this is parallel, this it's not so obvious. Obviously, with 100%, then it's going to sound super compressed, lah, which we don't want. An additional thing that I have here is this. I've also activated distortion to the distortion circuitry. This is adding some harmonics into it. So once again, going for that kind of retro-ish, lo-fi-ish vocal kind of sound. We're not going for a super hi-fi, pristine pop vocal because it's not the sound, it's not the identity or the sound that the band is going for, right? It's going for a very, very retro kind of sound. So this helps to give a little bit, again, a little bit more of the harmonics back, right? You can always bypass this if you don't want it, right? You can also cycle. There are different modes also, either distortion 2 or distortion 3. You pick which one you want, and then decide which is best lah. Okay, so in this case for Gary's vocals, right, I set with the distortion 2, right, because I like the way distortion 3 is a little bit harsher. If I'm not mistaken, it's like odd harmonics. I got to look back in the manual to be sure lah. But it's two different distortion modes. It gives a different set of upper harmonics to it. So they both have different flavors. So what's next? The next thing in the chain is sibilance. This is a de-esser, right? Straightforward. This de-esser, what a de-esser does, right? We all know. And one more thing, it's running through this compressor, this instance of Waves RCOM. Classic RCOM. What this does, again, it's super, super simple. Let's play the chorus section, which is the loudest part of the song. And this does nothing. It's just to capture the very loud peaks that right, the stray peaks that might come through.
Never my pride
And
to bear,
most of the time,
always
this is the maximum.
I'm there with
I'll
you.
back this off by maybe 2-3 dB. The maximum attenuation that I'm going for is never more than 1 dB.
With you always.
Half a dB at times, a fraction of a dB.
Never have thought
Yep.
I will leave you so far.
Yeah, okay, maybe at the loud part it goes to about 1.1 now. But that's it. That's all this does, okay? It just gets up to there. Okay, YouTube is saying YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, are you guys facing a little bit of buffering or slowdown on your end, or is it on my side? Could it be that's on my side? What is this? Open widget, yada yada. YouTube, yeah. Such viewers will experience some buffering. Well, let me know how everything is going. Okay. All right, whether or not you're having a problem with the how do we say, with the where are we? Stream health. Stream status says it's poor. Oh boy, poor stream health. Let me know if you all are having some problems, right, with the buffering. Okay, let me know in the chat. Okay, so let's move on. So we'll have these settings for both. Okay, let's duplicate both, right? Okay, the reason I have to split these two is because this part from the second verse going to chorus kind of overlaps a little bit. So let's set it so read vocals are about 7 dB. So now both these vocals are going into this group, right? I'm collecting. It's a a point of assembly, a point of collection in this group here. Now, in this group, there are more stuff. Okay, so let me just quickly pull this in. Again, there is a preset because it's something that we've already determined, right, for Gary's vocals. I might have already loaded this. Oh, not yet. Okay, very cool. So, interesting. Let's take a look at what is happening around here, okay? So, all the effects are down. Okay, so first things first. There's a Pultec EQ. And again, attenuation about 20, the settings about 2. Now, here at 3K, 3 kilohertz, bandwidth to maximum, boost at about 4, and a little bit of bottom end lah, okay? A little bit of the 100 hertz frequency just to make things fuller. This is just to add a little bit more presence, a little more fullness. and another instance of the 1176. Okay, so this is super cool. Let's listen to what this is doing.
Come down now, come down now, come down now to my place. Forever, forever, forever in my mind.
Okay, super cool. All right.
Profit through the grain like poetry needs the pain.
Okay, this may be a little bit higher. I think we need to bring.
Suffocating all the thoughts.
Yeah, let's bring this back
I
down.
give it up for you. I'll make it up to you. It's time to come back home again.
All right. Okay. Quite super happy. This is what we established. So we have also a de-esser here. So let's check it out.
Always, I'm there with you always. I've never had thought I would leave you so far away.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. So next thing that I have this is vocal splitter from WA Production. Okay. So this one, I can't remember where I get this from. I think this was from Plugin Boutique, if I'm not mistaken. Very cool UK based website. And what this does is it's kind of doing what the doubler in Metatune is doing, right? Except that why did I have these two? Because with Metatune, all right, let me go back and let's pull up Metatune once again. Okay, now here is again why the reason I've had Metatune here set up to just 11%, so it's not obvious. This is subtle, right? And then I added a little bit more from vocal splitter here, right? So let me just bypass vocal splitter so we can hear.
I'll write you a
This is just Metatune. And now let's engage vocal splitter.
Living was never.
Okay, because vocal splitter also spreads it in stereo as well. That's what I wanted to go for. So this is what we're getting. Okay, yeah. So a little bit of subtleness with one plugin, and then something a little bit more subtle to get where we want, instead of sometimes piling on too much with one single effect. You know, I found that this was a little bit more effective in getting the sound that we were going for lah. So instead of piling in too much, right, sometimes it's better to have several plugins each doing a little bit to sort of get where we are, instead of having to force a vocal to work too hard. So we've got TDR Nova once again. So this one, all it's doing is just doing a
Never my pride to bear.
very subtle, just like maybe 1 dB of just to massage some of the higher harsh hard frequencies. Okay, MV2, next thing, MV2 again.
Together.
Now MV2 in this instance, right, for vocals, I just dial in a little bit of it lah. Sometimes it will benefit. I don't use this all the time on vocals, sometimes only when I need it. Okay, now the next thing is vocal rider. So this is the relative of the bass rider that we saw earlier, except that this one is obviously it's geared towards vocals lah. So let's check it out. Same thing. Let's set the range, set the sensitivity, slow, set the target, and let's go for the chorus.
Always, I'm there with you always. I've never had thought I would leave you so far away.
Very nice, very cool. Let's listen to everything in context with the whole band.
Always.
Okay, it feels like it's hitting everything a little bit harder than usual, and sometimes it may be because of this. Let me try and just bring this down a little bit. Let's just check and see. Okay.
Always, I'm there
Yeah, I think I need to bring down, right, how hard it is hitting, because again, different song, different register compared to some of the other from of the previous two songs which I've already mixed. So once again, presets are there, yes, right, to use as a starting point, right, to get to in this case, I'm getting all the different sounds, right, across the different songs consistent, right. Uh, but sometimes you still need to tweak a little bit here and there. So right, go in and tweak it as necessary. So that's what we need to do. I just need to bring this a little down so it doesn't hit the compressors that hard. Okay, so where are we right now? Let's go to some of the effects. Let's talk about the effects that we're using. So first of all, this is a EMT140 reverb. Let's go to the reverb. Let's edit this effect. And in fact, this is actually a preset also. Let's go to the EMT140. Let's load in. And we are using a, yeah, pretty much, right? This is a preset which of course is tweaked a little bit further. A short reverb, okay? So this is a short reverb. There we go, okay? So we've got this EMT reverb, that's the first thing, right? And let's move on, okay? Let's move on to. So next thing that we have, this is Super Tap. Let me just turn this off for a second, right? So Super Tap here is a, this is actually a delay, but what I'm employing this for is to give it so that it will sort of simulate a little bit of the room ambience. So we recorded it in here, which is fairly dry. Now I want to place the vocal as if it was recorded in like a nice big wooden room, you see, a nice big room with nice wood walls. So Super Tap does this really well. Okay, let's dive into what actually I've set it to. Now, so it's a delay effect. All right, so you know it does what it does, you know what you can expect of a delay effect to do, but this is set to a very fast delay, a very fast repeat. All right, with only one single repeat. Feedback is turned off because we're not trying to create a whole bucket delay, you know, a bucket brigade of delays. You see, it's just one single reflection off the wall, pop, back, and that's it. Now the key thing to this also is, right, the EQ section of the delay. Here, this is a low pass filter, meaning that everything above 1.5K is all rolled off. So all the highs is all rolled off. So it's a fairly darkish, mid-rangey kind of reflection that you're getting. Let's solo this, and I will exaggerate this so you can hear how it sounds like. Okay, all right. Let me bring this up. Forever in my mind. So, yep, you can hear that, okay? So this is obviously way too much. So we just dial it down so that you can just sort of feel that, you know, a little bit of 3D-ness in the vocal. So what else? What's next? We have a mono delay. So this mono delay, right? This will help to give a little bit of front and back depth to it. So instead of reverbs, I mean, it's a combination of reverb and delays, right? But it's sometimes this combination that gives us, you know, the depth that we want. Come down now, come down now, come down now to my place. So that's the mono delay, okay? Straight down the middle. Let's just double check and see how this fits. Cool, right? I had to bring it up a couple of dB, right? But because exactly again in my mix notes, I had it at about -14. So that's very cool. Okay, now the next thing I'm gonna show you is again back to the topic of building dynamics, right? As I said earlier, in the mix, you can also help to enhance the impression or dynamics. So there's two things I want to point out to you, first of all. Now, first of all, when we get into the chorus, which is this section here, let me just highlight this, right? This section, not only do you have the lead vocal, you also have, right, doubles, right? Basically, actually, technically a triple. So I love to, when we get into the chorus, I prefer to record another two takes, right? So we can have a left and a right and the middle, and then basically, right, make the vocal thicker. So let's just listen to the doubles for a second. Let's just tweak this. Right, so these are just the doubles alone.
Always, I'm there with you always.
Okay, cool. Now, let me just deal with this. I feel like we need to take out a little bit more of the bottom end.
I've never had thought.
Okay, and just filter out some of the honking.
I will leave you so far.
And about 900, 901K kind of region. Scoop it out a little bit because we already got plenty of that coming from the main vocal. The doubles is just to kind of make it a little bit thicker, a little bit wider. I don't need it to pile on those kind of mid-range frequencies, okay?
Far away.
Okay, right, yeah, a little bit of whistly.
I write you a poem.
About 3K, so we don't need that, okay? Just scoop out a little bit of the 3K region on those doubles. And let's copy this over so that both the left and right will have these similar settings. So this was spread out about 75 actually. So now let's take a look and see how it sounds like. Okay, let's blend it in, link the two channels together, and let's check it out.
It's the pain.
There you go, a nice wide big vocals, right? So from the verse pre-chorus, it's just a solo vocal.
I'll make it up to you. It's time to come back home again.
Then when you get to the chorus, wide, big.
Always, I'm there with you always.
Super cool, okay? All right, you may have noticed something. There's something additional going on when I stop playing. You hear that there's this little stereo delay going on. And that's exactly what we did, all right? Exactly what I automated. So we have, during the verses pre-chorus, it's a mono delay. So it's pretty much up in the center, in the middle. Then when he kicks in the chorus, this is another trick you can do lah. When he kicks in the chorus, you kick in a stereo delay instead. So let me just show you what I have with the stereo delay. Okay, so this is also using the same similar delay, which is Brainworks, the BX delay. So the different thing is that if I can set it so I can, hang on, so you can see the difference. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is the mono delay. So this is set to 8th notes, right? 8 notes. So according to the tempo, 8 notes. Okay. Now when you get to the stereo delay, let me highlight this one now. Stereo delay, take note. So now I have set it to quarter notes instead. So it's a longer delay. But not only that, the left is set to quarter note and the right is set to quarter dotted notes. So they both have slightly different delay values. Why is the reason for that? Because if you set both of them to the same value, the end result is it's going to sound like a mono delay because it sounds in the middle exactly the same. When the same sound is coming up from the left and right speakers, it sounds as if it's coming from the center. That's what mono and stereo hearing is all about. So you need to have a slight difference between the two delay times. So left is set to quarter notes, right is set to quarter dotted. Okay. Another thing I want to point out here is that, all right, you can see that in the mono, the feedback setting is at about 26%. Now, when it comes to the stereo delay, I've actually increased the feedback level of the left delay to about 37. And why is the reason for that? Okay, the quarter note dotted, okay, Hope you can follow me, okay? The quarter note dotted is a longer delay time. So if it's a longer delay time, when the delay stops, right? Obviously the one on the right is going to roll on longer lah. Now that's going to sound weird if you're listening to it and then the delay on the one side seems to be going on longer than the other. So that is why the feedback on the left channel, right, is increased, so that they will both kind of similarly, they will still have the kind of ping-pongy, bouncy back and forth going on, but both of them will sort of end together, see, right? Instead of having one delay which ends longer, it makes it sound as if the delay just starts shifting to one side, which is weird, okay? Okay, all right. So let me just listen to it. Listen to how the stereo delay stops. Both of them stop at the roughly the same time. Okay.
Always, I'm there with you.
So you right, a nice even balance, and then let me stop it. Okay, and there we go. Okay. Actually, hang on a second. Where is it? I'm not hearing it. Okay, one more time. Right.
Always,
there we go.
I'm there with you always. I've never had
See, can hear bouncing it back and forth. Well, once again, you need to be hearing this on headphones or earphones or a good pair of speakers to be able to hear it. It's not going to be possible to hear how it sounds like just watching this on the smartphone, okay? All right, so one more time. Let's probably need to tweak a little bit of the amount. Probably need to increase it a little more, actually. So let's listen to how it goes. Yep, definitely. So here, I've got it to about... go. So getting into the second verse, right? We automate it out, so it's back to the mono delay lah, right? Let's move on. Okay, let's move on to some of these other stuff. Let's move on to some of the backing vocals. Okay, so in the verse there is this little harmonized line. So let's check it out. Right, same thing. Let's go with the my vocal treatment chain, which is Voc Para. Okay, I always do this parametric parallel compression thing on all my vocals, right? Okay, let me turn off some of the... Where is this effect coming from? Is it already in the... that is why. Okay, so let's go. Let's not do that first. So on the BV group, let me just dial in the BV settings, which actually has the reverb. Okay, let's turn it off first because it makes it easier to hear. Right, here we go. There we go. Yeah, because with a lot of reverb, sometimes it masks some of the things I'm trying to hear. Okay, let's listen.
Keep going, keep going, keep going together.
Okay,
Together.
so at about 448, 450 hertz, there's this little resonance which doesn't contribute to anything. So let me check it out. Makes everything a little bit muddy.
Keep going, keep going, keep going together.
And also about 3K. So it's got that culprit there lah. Right, that could be, that particular resonance frequency where Gary's vocal is.
Together.
Okay, so let's blend these two in. Very, very nice. Okay, let's move on. So we've got a couple of other BVs here. Okay. Actually, hang on a second. I almost forgot. Okay. Now, these BVs here that I've highlighted, these are actually done by Melina. All right, so let's check it out. Okay, so we're going to blend these in. Let's blend these in. Let's see what Molina. Right. Okay, so this is what she did. Her vocal tone, her dynamics is really, really good. Its pitching is spot on. I don't need to tweak anything. Just need to EQ a little bit, okay? So just take out a little bit of the... Yeah, so similarly at about 450. A little bit at 4.5. Very, very little actually. In fact, probably don't need it. Don't even need it. It's just leave it. I'll just leave it alone, okay? Don't always be super tempted to tweak everything and EQ everything first. Okay, let's blend this. There we go. Awesome. Okay, now let's move on. So that's the verse. Getting into the chorus, let's start first of all with the Gary's BBs. Let's take a look. So we can take out some of the a bit of honkiness at about 850, 800, 900 region. Okay, it doesn't need all the super top end, so we can take out like everything above 10K. Yeah, that's all it needs. All right, let's just blend it in. Copy both and pan these hard left, hard right. And let's blend in this BV. Okay, let's check it out. Okay, very, very cool. Let's see how it interacts with Melina's BV, with the female BVs. Okay, we'd actually like to hear a little bit more of Melina's vocals actually, so let's build the mix starting from there instead. So okay, let me automate this. Okay, very cool. So need to do a bit of automation, okay? Okay, this is fine. This needs to come down about it. Okay, right. Because at the higher notes, right, obviously a female voice is going to poke out a bit more. So now when you get back into the chorus, let's fast forward here. Okay, she's going really into the soprano range here actually, so let's check it out. Which is so sweet. Those sweet sounding BVs, man. Okay, right, so this is really, really nice. Let's bring this up, so maybe about... Okay, Now, I suspect that it is not only just this automation that needs to take place, it's probably on this bus as well. So let me just inspect and see what's going on, okay? Let's see what's going on because I have the... Okay, that's cool, that's fine. But here... Okay, right. Probably this is pushing it a little bit harder. Let me increase the range a little bit. Okay, let's see what it's doing. Okay, let me just go back to the verse again. All right, okay. So definitely we need to tweak something here. Let me just bring the target value down. That's better. Yeah, so I need to tweak and adjust this target level a little lower, okay? Otherwise, it keeps wanting to pull it, but then it can't go. Okay, right. So at least it's got the range to act lah. Okay, so now I can sort of bring this back down to there, 15. Then I can blend in the original vocals. Okay, right. So very cool. I'm gonna tuck the Gary's vocals in a little bit, 75, maybe. Okay. The reason being, to give a little bit of separation. Generally speaking, if you want something to sound wide, right, you put all the high frequency content to the hard pan, to the hard left and hard right settings lah. And you can take the more mid-rangey, lower frequency stuff and pull it more towards the middle. That's the nature of sound, right? It tends to be low frequencies tend to propagate in a more omnidirectional fashion, whereas high frequencies tend towards unidirectional. Okay, so if you want to widen stuff, put all the high frequency stuff at the sides. Bring the lower frequency stuff more towards the middle. So I will tuck Gary's vocals in, so it will give a little bit more space for everything. That's about right. Interesting. Okay, let's bring the double to 50-50 instead of 75. Maybe that's why. Let's check it out. Okay, cool. And then we probably need to, I think what this needs to do is probably automate it a little bit. Okay, so I think everything as a whole needs to be automated up by about half dB. I think I still want the doubles to be out at 75 lah. I can afford to have it there. Okay. Oh, interestingly, this looks a little softer than the other one, so maybe that's why she sounds softer. Let me just... okay, that makes a little bit more sense. So yeah, it's a little 2 dB softer for some reason. Okay. So even this also, it could be, again, it could be just delivery lah. Could be just that. So let's check it again. Which one is this? Okay. Oh, I think I might have accidentally deleted this. Let me just bring this back. This was a copy and paste anyway. About 15. There we go. Okay, very good. Okay, let's go on with the second BV layer. Let's check it out. Okay, let's solo this. Okay, so there's a little bit of just a very, very tiny. Whoop, whoop, whoop. For about 400, just a little bump there. Okay, let's blend this in. So the verse. A bit more. Yeah, this can be a little bit more, I think. Let's blend it in. Sounds good. Okay, chorus. Listening. Alright, so this was actually an alternative, an extra. So doesn't feel like it needs it here. So we just mute this. Okay, yeah. I feel that this line doesn't need to be there lah, right? Originally, it's not meant to be there anyway. It was just as an alternative, was an optional harmony part. Adding that extra harmony part just makes it sound too happy. The color, it's too colorful. So, but kudos, right? Melina's super professional. She gave us the options of all these various harmonies, whether we can use it or not lah, right? Okay, let's move on. Ending chorus. We have a couple more other harmony parts. All right, and oh, hello. Let me save this first. It is starting to glitch a little bit. Could be because of the CPU usage. So let's listen to this. Okay, right. This is pretty much a unison. Yeah, so this is unison. Okay, let's take out about 860 hertz. That sits perfectly. Okay, so we've got this one, which is also an alternative. Let's check it out and see whether or not we use it or not. So this one is much more full. So at about 1.16K, there's a bit of ringing there. Well, let's check it out. Let's see how it goes. is super, super cool actually, right? It's a nice counterpoint. Very, very nice counterpoint. Okay. It's definitely getting a little glitchy, so let's check out what this is. This part is okay, very much a unison thing. So let's just awesome, sounding really good. Okay, it is starting to glitch because using quite a bit of the amp sims here. So what I'm gonna do is let me just bounce, right? Freeze some of these audio tracks first of all, right? Mainly the guitar tracks which are using the amp simulators, right? So this freeze function as well. And folks, give me a minute also, right? Maybe a good time to go and take a little bit of a quick toilet break because of all the coffee that I've been drinking. So whilst this bounces, I'll be back in about a minute, okay? Here we go. Don't go anywhere. See you soon. Make sure freeze channel option, tail size 1. Okay. I'll be back. All right. And I'm back, folks. That took a quick one. So let me just bounce a couple of other tracks as well. Let me just freeze a few other things. Excellent, man. Just give me a second. I've got some messages to answer as well. Okay, hang on a second now. Right. Tail size. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Okay, let me just reply this message real quick. In the meantime, let's just keep rendering, right? Freezing some of these tracks. Okay, let me answer this. Got some queries for the studio booking on Sunday. Oh well, usually I don't open on Sundays, because it's supposed to be a day of rest and all that. But sometimes you need to make some exceptions, especially when we get. In this case, it's because the clients are from outstation. So let me just make this little reply these little messages as we go along. And my battery is almost dead, guys. Give me a second, okay? I also need to go and recharge my battery, okay? Right. There we go. In case of any emergencies, you always need to have the battery up and running. So let's just freeze a couple more tracks, especially the ones that are running the amp simulators, the Slate THU. Hey, how are you guys doing, man? Gary, I'm not sure whether you guys are still there. Mac, Shah, thank you so much. Hopefully you guys are still there, but if you're not, it's okay, no worries. Okay, let's move on to one more here. Let's drive this out. And couple of other things, some other of the lead guitar stuff, and then we're pretty much there actually. Now, there are actually some other production elements which actually are sort of missing from the mix at the moment, and that is some of the keyboard parts. And some of the keyboard parts, mainly some pads, maybe some synth sounds, and that's not in there yet because sometimes I need to pull the mix together in order to sort of know exactly what we need, because at this point in time it's a bit hard to tell what we need to put in, what needs to be added. So so some of these things we'll only know once I get all of the other parts in. So where are we? Let's continue. Okay, so these are some of the additional backing vocals as well. These are all Gary's parts, if I'm not mistaken. So these are the same R's that we were dealing with. Actually, I think it's it's both Gary and Ed's vocals, I think. So let's start with this. It's pretty much a unison thing. So just EQ some of the top end we don't need. Okay, we don't need, that's 880, that note. And about 5K, we don't need that. Alright, okay. In solo, of course, it sounds a little bit weird. It sounds a little funny as well. Okay, let's take out, and this one is Gary, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, right, that same frequency is being excited there. Slightly higher at about 5.4K. Same thing, let's take out the top end. Alright, and pretty much we've got this sorted out. Let's link all of them together, because the way that they are functioning, it's more like a unison, like a little crowd vocal going on, like a choir thing. So let's listen to it. Very cool. Okay, very nice. Okay, we got a couple more other parts here. Okay, yeah, these are the low register notes. Is it? Yeah. Yeah, okay, so these are the lower notes lah. So same thing. Let me just load it in. Just solo these. As you can tell, the lower registered R's, these harmonies are, right, panning more towards the center, 50-50, instead of hard left, hard right. So same thing, same reason why I explained it earlier. All right. So very interesting. You can hear the resonance at 440. And very typically there will always be a companion exactly an octave higher lah. Yeah, at 880, so exactly an octave. Can you take out the top end? Yeah, all right. That's what we need. Let's copy these settings over, link the two. So these are the low. It's not really. It's a low octave because it's not really a harmony. Because it's like they're singing the same note just an octave lower. So again, these come in here at the very end. Again, dynamics lah, right? It helps to build up the texture. Yeah, right. These guys sound like a awesome choir, man. Okay, hang on a second. Let me just kind of clean this little portion up. I must have missed out this little portion. Basically, I want to clean out some of the starts and ends of these so that they are tight, and also because some of the lip noises you can hear. All that lip smacking sounds. So just clean it up, right? A little fade in, a little fade out, topping and tailing, as I like to call it. Very nice. Okay. Very, very awesome. Okay, so where are we right now? Okay, here we go. All right, let's bring in the choruses again. Dynamics to make things a little bit more exciting. There is a tambourine. Let's check it out.
Come back home again.
It's a tambourine.
Always, I'm there with you always. I've never had thought I would leave you
So this tambourine loop was something that Gary gave us, right? It was ready from the pre-production. A little bit of tweaking will need to be done. Some of it is a little bit late, but that's normal because it's a loop, you see, Okay, I will tweak all this to make sure it's a little bit tighter. Okay, what's next? We have a little slide guitar. Okay, and here is where I have to be proud a little bit because this was something that I added inside. So let's check out this ambient. It's an ambient slide guitar. Right, so this little slide guitar line, okay, just check it. Yeah, what? Okay, now I feel like the guitars could also, especially the rhythm, okay, could use with a little bit of just taking out a little bit of 300. Very, very cool. So, and now let's move on. These are lead guitar line. let's check it out. So these were done by Adrian. Let's run it through the same tape and console emulation. Check it out. Very, very cool. Okay, so this one goes. Okay, right. So this one would probably benefit from being a lead line. MV2 is really good for this as well. All right, a lead line, it helps to bring up some of the detail, helps to bring up some of the note definition. MV2 is really good for this. Let's take this out first. Has to enhance some of the sustain as well. Okay, there's this little 880 that's really. Very cool. So just boosting at about 1.5K, just a tiny bit, right? Because that's kind of where the center of power is for this guitar. Okay, right. So I feel that it serves a little bit better on the right hand side. So sometimes these things you need to decide whether it sounds better on the left or sound better on the right. You need to decide, okay? So where are we? So we've got this little lead guitar part. Okay, so these go to these will go into a group here, and let me just set this. Let me set up this group, okay? So these are all the group. Which group is this? Group 10. Check it out. Okay, right. So clean guitars. So I have a particular setting for this. So same thing as well. Let me just pull up this little preset here. This will be the Gary lead guitars. All right. Well, actually, it's Adrian playing. So this one, there is some modulation going on. You've got a virtual mix rack. You've got TDR Nova. You've got some phases and some reverb going on. So let's check it out. Yeah, you know, just to give it a bit of chorusing. So same thing. This would also benefit from. Let's start first of all, as usual. Right, tape and console, emulation, just EQ it a little bit. Okay, we don't need all that bottom. Alright, so take out all the bottom end. MV2 to the rescue. Alright, so let's bring out all of that sustain and note detail. Turn the output down to compensate. At first it sounds louder, but you know, I know that it's actually bringing out all the sustain and all the note definition. Excuse me. It is bringing out a lot of the note definition because that's what MV2 does. And hey, Zachariah, thanks for joining once again, man. How are you doing? Big shout out, right? Zach's one of the the channel's patrons. Thank you so much, Zach, for tuning in, for your continued support. Hope you're doing well. All right. Hopefully you find this mix interesting, very very cool, right? They're super cool band. Okay, and details of them are down in the description below. They are new band, but these are not new. Not new names in the industry, like in the scene. Okay, all right. So let's check it out. Right. Now there may be some. All right. Okay. So let's copy this over because we could pretty much use the same setting also. All right. Let's check out. So this is. Let's keep them both at about 50-50. And we're good to go. Sounds better now. Okay, very cool. Okay, so now let me just do a few things which that's coming to mind. This snare, the bob snare, only needs to kick in the chorus lah. All right. Okay. Right. So it's the added dimension is only needed here. Alright, so when it gets to the chorus, once again, it doesn't need it. Okay, so kicking only in the chorus. Similar, same thing. So coming here. And only kicking in once again at the very last, when the whole bang, whole band, all the guitars kick in lah. So we can cut this out, we control this. Yeah, so again, dynamics. So the snare tone slightly changes, it becomes a little bit more brighter, it becomes slightly bigger. Right, slightly louder, a little bit of different texture. So at the very end, very cool. Where are we right now? Okay, so there is this little end drive guitar. So let's check it out. This is more of a wall of sound. Very straightforward. Okay, these are all coming straight from the guitar itself. Let's check it out. All right, this is hard pan left. Okay, now there's some notes that we don't really need. There's this. We don't really need that note. We can cut that out. Okay, and what is this 3.3K doing? I can't remember. Okay, that's why. And let's find the center frequency where this needs to come out. At about 1.6K, right? Yeah, so that's really where this guitar really pokes out, is about that region, 1.6K, and it's got some other resonances we don't really need, so, Alright, we also don't need anything above 10K there. Very, very, very cool. Now, last thing, we have this little lead line that was played by Adrian that was recorded with a very interesting pedal. This is called the loomer, all right? So it sounds like this. This lead line goes here. Let's check it out. It's like a can't remember. It's a reverb distortion pedal. All right. All right. So this one. Okay. So instead of high pass, let's try the. Oops, what did I just do? I accidentally brought that whole thing up. Now I know why. Now I know why this. Let me try and figure out. Okay, now I know why the guitar fills was supposed to be on the left, because when this loomer lead comes in, right, it has to make way lah, basically. Okay. Okay, right, so this is very tricky. We've got a whole wall of guitars actually going on. Right, so it's tricky. So now the actual lead line comes here. Just solo it, and now, so this should go to. Okay, let me just check it out. All right, hang on a second. I think there is actually a particular setting for the. There's a particular setting for the lead guitars. Is there one? Oh, okay. So that is the one. Okay, let's check it out. So this is what will really add that ambient quality to it. So let's pull these loomer guitars, the lead lines, okay, into a clean guitar. Let me relabel this. This is actually lead guitar, actually, not clean guitar. Or it's not necessarily only for the clean. It's a lot of guitar. Very cool. There we go. And this is the lead line. And it's like this ambient, really ambient, spacey guitar. Okay, there's a lot of energy at about 360, which we don't need. Okay, all right. So now there's one more thing that we're gonna add on, that I'm gonna add on to this, and this was something that we actually experimented in the during the recording session. We actually layered this synth line, the lead line with a synth actually, and the synth that I was using here, this is actually ENA2, right? Analog 2 that comes from Sonic Academy. Right. So here you go. It's this guy. Let me just solo how this synth lead sounds like, okay? Okay, now, you know why is it sounding so weird now? Okay, why is it sounding like half a step down now? It's weird. Okay, it's just... Okay, bro, what is going on? What is going on? Why is it like pitching at this weird Okay, this synth is behaving strangely. It is way out of tune, man. What in the world is happening? Okay, now let me see. Did I accidentally like mess around with something that make it go all berserk? Okay, da 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 da. Is there some kind of a modulation somewhere which I messed up? Pitch shift or something like that? Okay, no, modulation is all fine. Pitch bend is all at 0. That's fine. What in the world is causing this da, 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 this that is so bizarre. It's not supposed to do this. What in the world is going on, man? What's going on, dude? Okay, now it is definitely doing something bizarre. Okay. Da, da, da. Okay, hang on a second, okay? Alright. Something has made it go out of tune and it was... Okay. I suspect it might just need a quick reset in order to bring all these things back into... Okay, let's just skip this first then, okay? Sorry guys, that is weird. Okay. Gary, I'm not sure whether you heard that or not. Okay, this bizarre thing is going on with the synth lead that was supposed to be doubling the. I suspect something odd is going on, and the reset will probably sort things out really quickly. Let me just double check. Did I change anything? No, I did not. No. It is not supposed to sound like that, okay? It did not sound like that during tracking. It didn't sound like that, yeah, when I was working on it all this while. Okay. Weird gremlins are happening. But anyway, basically that was the idea. We were trying to layer in a synth so that this lead line at the end it's not going to sound like a typical guitar, ambient guitar, that kind of a post-rock guitar ambient sound. Layer it with a synth, give it a slightly different texture. Okay, but a couple of more things I want to show you. Right, so here, this is a kind of a cool vocal idea that Gary did. This is just that Gary came up with. This is coming up right into the second chorus. So check this out. This is actually like a little Queen-ish kind of a thing where you get different harmonies. Here we go. There we go. Of course, we need to be able to hear it. So where it is. Okay, let's bring it up a little louder. Okay, it's way too soft right now. Alright, beneficial if I solo it. Okay, solo it so you can hear what I say. There we go. There, you can hear it a little bit better. Okay, so let's deal with it one by one. So now, because these are so short, you don't really need to tweak too much. So let's get with it. We have this ring at 780. We don't need it. Same thing, we don't need too much of the top end. Very, very cool. And this second harmony, let's loop it. And 880, we don't need that. Don't need all the top end. Okay, the third one. Let's loop it. Same thing, we don't need this. Take out everything at 6K, don't need the top end. Okay, we have another one. Just EQ it a little bit more. So this is like the 680 hertz, so this is like a fifth, you don't need it. Alright, we got a little bit at 4K. Right, and finally, we've got these last two thingies going on. So this, I think this was also pitch shifted, I think. Yeah, I think we use a pitch shifter on this. So don't need this note here. RTAs in this instance can be very, very useful, these analyzers, because it helps you to identify those notes which poke out. But don't feel that you need to be tempted to every single spike that you feel that you need to EQ, alright? We are just gonna EQ what needs to be EQ'd, okay? As you can hear, this is about 3K. Let's take out the top. And, okay, let's assemble this together. Then let's loop this section. Let's do this fourth line. Yeah, alright. check it out. Da, da. Very cool. Alright, so this is how it goes. Just giving a little bit of a very, very cool little ear candy going to the second chorus. Great idea by Gary, by the way. Alright, probably just needs to add a little bit more, some kind of a riser or kind of a sweep effect going into it lah. Right, and we are pretty much there. Now there's some other stuff which, like I mentioned, right, that some production elements which probably gonna need to add on after this. It's not always necessarily a linear process, especially especially when it's a project that I'm working on. Sometimes you may feel that it's best suited, that I'll know much better what to add on later once I have this initial mix done. So, this is going to be done. We're taking it about 70-80% of the way. Probably add some other production elements on top, like I mentioned, some of the keyboard, some keyboard synths and then pads, just to give it a little bit of richness, a bit of, stuff to it. And then only we, take it to the next level and finish it up lah. Now, some of these guitar parts are interesting, and I'll just show you what this little thing that we have in here, right? It sounds pretty cool. This was actually done using harmonics. We actually recorded harmonics, right? And then we laid them out this way. So listen to how it sounds. Right. This is all individual harmonics that we recorded, okay? Here we go. All right. And Gary's saying, sounds like a scene from a horror film. Yeah, well, it's a horror. It's not the synth plugin is not supposed to do that. I think it's a little buggy. I just need to reset and relaunch the thing, and it should be back fine. Okay, so let me just roughly just plunk this in so you can hear how it sounds like. This comes in the interlude, by the way. So this is actually a cool melody, although I am not fully sold on the sound lah. That's the thing, right? So KIV, this is something that I'm gonna add on a little bit later. Okay. But then again, it when you listen to it over and over again, it sometimes kind of grows on you. So who knows, man? Last thing, let's just add this little thing. So there is this little clean-ish guitar line that was added again to this interlude section. This was, I think, also something that Adrian played, right? Yeah, just to fill in the space. So this would actually kind of go into the lead guitar group as well. So let's check it out. Very cool. So I'm hearing maybe, some kind of guitar, clean guitar-ish kind of effect here, which actually I already did. Let's listen to how it goes, but probably need to, let's listen to it. Maybe let's look for... This is... Very, very cool. All right, so there we go. That is pretty much all of it. Okay, now there's this little synth, the synth line thing, which I need to sort out. A little bit of tightening here and there, some bits of automation, especially on some of the verse vocals. But I kind of show you most of the broad strokes of the mix that we have lah, right? If I were to go into, I'm not going to go into all the nitty gritty of all little automation moves. That takes way too long. We're going to be here until like 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning lah. So usually at this point in time, I would say I'm about 70-80% through with the mix. The rhythm section's down, the bass is there, the main rhythm section, the main vocals are all there. Everything is pretty much there. All that's left now is all the fine tuning details. Okay, a couple of other stuff which I will quickly demonstrate. One last thing. Okay, another tip or trick which you can use in mixing, like one little automation trick, is the good old bring up the master volume in the choruses trick lah. So very simply, right, all you need to do is to create the impression again of dynamics, to make it sound a little bit more impressive, so that when the listener hears it, like the chorus kicks in, wow, it's like a little bit more energy. It's a very simple trick, so to speak, and that involves just raising up the master volume by 1 dB. So I'll show you very quickly, right? Folks, if you've watched this, Zach, and you guys who've watched my live streams, you'll know exactly what it is, okay? This is for the benefit of those who are watching this later on in the replay. Here we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So it'll just be this 1 bar ramp up, okay? If you notice, right? Moving this up.
Give it up for you. I'll make it up to you. It's time to come back home again.
In fact, let's make it 2 bars so it's a little bit smoother. So it comes from there, home again, and then it ramps up very gently. So this gives the impression that, wow, suddenly it just sounds bigger, the chorus sounds a little bit louder, where padahal it's only just a little 1 dB bump, okay? So, okay, coming out of the chorus, we ramp it back down to the original level, 0. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so obviously the ramp down will be a little shorter. Usually in this case, only something that's 2 beats, right? So it can be shorter. It's not as obvious lah, right? Now some people will do 1.5 dB, but for me 1.5 dB, it sounds too obvious that someone turned the volume up. So 1 dB is kind of the sweet spot for me lah. But your mileage may vary. You can always decide and choose whatever you want, okay? So same. Okay, so at this point, same thing. Okay, ramp 1 dB up. Oh, actually, it's at 56. My bad. So it's here. Da, 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 da. Actually, because we made this is a little different. Okay, this only has a 1 bar ramp in, so 1 bar it is. Yeah, it's a little bit shorter. Again, that's more of an arrangement decision. Instead of having a long break, we kept it short, right? Excellent. And last but not least, so here we go. This is also, yeah, this will also only be a 1 bar ramp up lah. And obviously, since this is the last one, this goes all the way to the end lah. So yeah, this is something you can try out. Just automate your master volumes up, down by a dB. Can make a very big, it's a very subtle, but can be a big difference on, it's a subtle yet obvious, one of the easiest ways to create artificially induced dynamics in the mix. So there we have it. Okay, so Thank you again. Let's wrap this baby up. We are like 12:30. Thank you so much for watching. We'll just take one quick listen right once again. And while I'm doing it, I'm actually going to switch over to my alternate pair of speakers. And in a sense, obviously, you guys at home won't be able to hear how it is. But just to give myself a different frame of reference, okay? So once this is done, okay, usually we go through a little bit of a feedback process with Gary and the band. We'll tweak some stuff, and this is the third out of the 4 songs out of the EP. Okay, so stay tuned, right? Details, contact details, the social media details of the band are all down in the link below, in the description. Links once again. Hang on, let me turn on my volume. Let me set my volume, okay, with my foot controls. Okay, so details of the band, right? Feir, all right, are down in the description below. Check them out, okay? They are going to be coming with an EP real soon. 2 out of... right, excuse me. 2 out of 4 songs are pretty much done. This is the third one. Then we got the fourth one. Then the EP is rolling out. Okay. And oh, hang on a second. Is that Ed? Right. Zachariah says. Good song. Peace. All right. Zach, awesome man. Okay. And Ed, that's Adrian. You are flying all the way over there in London right now. Not bad, okay, right. Please tell the... I know this sounds really morbid. Please make sure the flight path is correct, okay, all right, because because of all the nonsense, ridiculous things that's happening in Eastern Europe right now. Yeah, okay. Anyway, let's talk about... Adrian in the house, Gary says, and Zachariah says, send me the postcards. Ah, that's a good one, man. That's a good one. So, Adrian, do send us some postcards when you come back from London, okay? All right. So let's take a final one quick listen. This is, I would consider, the first draft of the mix. You know, after this, we'll do a little bit of automation moves here and there, some slight fine tuning. Give myself an ear break. Either I will come back again early first thing in the morning when everything's a lot more fresher. Then, I'll come back and do a little bit of minor tweaks. Either that or sometimes I will wait, a few hours later. But since it's already like 12 something, I'll probably will call it a night. Thank you so much, everyone. We've got Gary in the house. Mac was here earlier as well. And Adrian just joined us. Right. Thank you so much, man. I'm about to wrap this up already. Zachariah, as usual, thank you, right, for all your support. Shah Silver, who for tuning in earlier. Chris, right? Chris Pereira, Eyes and Ears Productions, all the way from KK, and also Munaware, right? Thanks, Moon, for joining in earlier as well. Okay, so here we have first draft of the mix of another track out of Feir's upcoming EP. Okay, this is titled Postcards and Regards. So listening on NS10s, giving me myself a different perspective as well. Good night, everyone, and once again, right? Please do subscribe if you're not yet a subscriber, and if you want to become a patron, right, to help support the channel, creating content, more content such as the live streams and other videos as well, please think about it. Okay, do consider signing up to become a patron. Super affordable. It's either like from $1 a month, right? The info is on the Patreon website, or if you want to be a VIP patron, it's only $10 a month. Okay. Lots of perks and benefits. Go and check it out, right? Head on down to the website. Everything's in the description below. Okay, so let's take a quick listen. Going into the pre-chorus. So, some keyboards. I definitely will want to add some keyboards, some pad stuff. Some keyboard chords. Okay, and then some pads to sort of build up. Maybe like a keyboard stringy kind of a sound to it, because it needs to fill in that higher frequency range. because the guitars are taking the sort of the mid-range along with the vocals. It's got that higher frequency range, which seems to be it needs that thing there, like a high string or synth thing. Very cool. Zach, you have the comment of the night lah. Send me the postcards. Alright, okay. Aries, right. Ed says thanks, Zach. Long to Zach. My pleasure, guys. All good. Alright. Hey, have a good flight, everyone. Let's catch up. We'll soon, hopefully. Right. When you get back here, I'll also be working on the tweaks for sometimes. Send you another revision really quick lah. Okay. Second chorus. Okay. Very cool idea, right? Of the sort of the cascading of backing vocals, right? That's Gary's idea. The strange thing is that now when I'm listening on NS10s, it actually sounds great, good to me, and that is because listening to the same speakers for a long duration of time, it's like what, 2-3 hours. Kind of get fatigued, so it's great to be able to switch over to the NS10s because it's like, oh, you suddenly see it through a fresh pair of lens. You see, it's a totally different perspective, and suddenly like, hey, everything actually makes sense now. So it's very cool. Okay, to have two different sets of models, at least in my opinion, lah. Okay, final chorus. That extra counterpoint melody that Carmine and Melina did, that is so cool. That's really cool. I feel like I need to highlight it. There you go. Can you hear that? Right? That was awesome idea from Melina, by the way. Right. So this is like pitching connection. Jack says layan sambil air drumming. Okay. And then that lead line. I think I know this synth, right? I need to reset. Once I reset the close and open up the project, you'll probably be fine. But anyway, you'll hear it in the final version. Stay tuned, okay? So that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching MixStream. Stay safe, take care everyone. Happy recording, mixing. Peace, love, and music. Out.